Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike. This is Narco Cop MMA. Thank you for joining me tonight, man. I know it's 9 p.m. here in Central Standard Time, so I appreciate everybody that's going to come in and join me tonight. I'm going to have two guest cappers here, two very sharp guys, and Liam picks fights, and Lucrative MMA, James. Both guys are really sharp cappers. They'll be joining me soon. But first, I want to start off by giving you guys a little breakdown of what happened last week. I did a stream for Dana White's Contender Series Week 2. I am going to go ahead and break down what I had, what I said last week, what was wrong, what was good, all that good stuff. And then we'll go into Week 3 for the Contender Series. Right here, we could start off with this first fight from last week, Chad and Heliger and Muan Gafferoff. When I was on stream last week, I played Gafferoff. I got him early at minus 196. But I also stated on stream that, this guy wasn't impressing me at all on tape. I said that this guy lost a lot of his top positions where he went for guillotine. And unfortunately, in this specific fight, he lost that first round because what he ended up doing was when he was in top position, he ended up going for a guillotine. And I think it was either first or second round. I can't remember, but he went for that guillotine, didn't get it, ended up on bottom, lost the round, eventually lost the third round where he completely gassed out. Shout out to Heliger. He stayed in there. Guy was a big, huge underdog, came through, but I lost the actual wager on Gafferoff, but I won in live betting because I bet Heliger 2 different times at plus 500, plus 235. He just looked like the fresher fighter. I thought he was going to, win that first round because of his cardio. Gafferoff he didn't impress me on tape, and he didn't impress me in this first contender fight. So this dude, I don't know if he's training enough. I don't know what he's doing, but dude needs to go back to training. He's still young. He could still get better, but his fight IQ is just not. I saw it on tape. I said it last week. He just loses position all the time when he's on top, and he did it again, and it ended up costing him the fight. Moving on to the second fight, Bruno Correa against CJ Vargara. This fight here, I thought Bruno Correa was going to take him down. I had Bruno Correa by sub at plus 600, which was a crazy line. Ended up closing at like plus 125. But, man, Vargara had a great game plan, dude. He just stormed this guy. Did not give him any opportunity to use his kicking game. Stormed him. Just blitzed this dude. And shout out to him, dude. He just ran him over, man. He didn't give him a chance to get a takedown. Didn't give him any type of those, crazy wild spinning kicks that Correa likes to do. And just blazed them, man. There's nothing you could say, my plus 600, even though it was a good line, didn't even have a chance. Going to the third one, Simon Oliveira, Jose Alde, close fight. I had it for Oliveira. I took Oliveira initially at plus 130. I got in really early. The line completely flipped. And then I went on the other side and I bet Jose Alde at plus 188, basically guaranteeing me 1.5 units. I had to do it. I wasn't very comfortable with Oliveira. I thought he was the better fighter. Like he could win this fight just based off his grappling and stuff. And he did. But once the line flipped like that, and I knew I could guarantee myself 1.5 units, I went ahead and did it. And it worked out for me. It was a close fight. Even though Oliveira, if I kept my 3 units at plus 130, I would have won 3.9 units, but I went on the safe side, and it was a close fight like I anticipated it to be. So, I hedged that one out. Next fight, Njokuani Sosa. I had the over on this fight, over 1.5. I believe I got it in at minus 120. Yeah, 120. So, that one pretty comfortably got over that 1.5 mark. I thought it was going to be a stand-up fight like it was. I mentioned that, the much better striker in Njokuani, and it showed. I mean, he was leaps and bounds better, a better striker. Actually had more power, to be honest. Like, he had the better power shots in this fight. Looked better. Sosa does not look like he's UFC material. But, you know, he gave it his all, but he was completely dominated, honestly. And eventually, you know, Njokuani grounded and pounded him. And you know, shout out to Locke. You know, last week he mentioned, I kind of mentioned that, you know, if Sosa got him to the ground, it'd probably be his fight. But he also turned around and did say, you know, if Njokuani was to take him down, he would probably end up, you know, winning the fight. And sure enough, Njokuani took him down and he pounded him, you know. So got a little loss on, a little win on that one. On the next one with Quinlan and Urban, you know, I looked at the fight and both guys were kind of, you know, Quinlan's a slow starter. Urban was, you know, very low volume. I figured this fight would, you know, go over the 1.5 mark just based on what I saw on tape from these guys. But obviously, you know, Urban fighting that low level of competition, you know, Quinlan fought a little bit better of a competition, but, you know, I didn't see that. I didn't see the one punch and just completely, you know, putting Urban's lights out basically, and then you know, finishing up with a couple more punches, but it was completely one-sided. So my over 1.5 did not work out on that at -125. Lost that, but overall, with the live betting and everything, plus 1.7 units on the night. I can't complain. I beat the lines, you know, by a wide margin, and that's all I can ask for. You know, it's finding value. I found the value. Sometimes the value doesn't always work out, but like the Alde Oliveira fight, you're able to, if you find the lines well in advance and the lines flip, you can basically free roll the fight and, you know, win yourself, you know, 1 unit, 1.5, whatever it may be. It's a guaranteed win. You have to take it, you know? But yeah, that's that. Let me bring in my guests and we can go over this, you know, weird 6-fight Dana White Contender Series card. I don't think there's ever been 6 fights. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's mostly 5, sometimes 4, like we saw last week. But this week is going to be a 6-fight card. I'm going to bring 2 very sharp bettors in here. First, I'm going to bring in my buddy here, Lucrative MMA, James. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Happy to be here, bro. First time we've done a stream together, I believe, or at least first time I've been on your stream. So hopefully we can kick it off with a bang, get some winning bets, earn some money. Nothing better than midweek money, you know. We love weekend money, but nothing better than a little bit of midweek money, man. So yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm privileged to have you here, bro. I mean, you're as sharp as they come. I love your takes. You know, we kind of like a lot of times when we were on Z's show, we kind of almost agree on almost everything, which was kind of weird. But hey, maybe we're looking at the same, you know, the same lens on that scope, you know. But yeah, you know, we're trying to give these people some winners. You know, basically just give them, you know, advice, you know, breaking down these fights. I mean, that's more important. Sometimes I'd like to, you know, giving people winners is good, but also giving them the actual knowledge of what you see on tape so they can actually determine bets on their own based on what information you're giving them and what you're seeing, right? I think that's important too, other than just,
very important.
You know, I can give them my side, but my side is not always right? Your side is not always right. So maybe they see something else with the information that we gave them that we didn't see. So
very important, man. To be honest, I mean, as you know, I have a handicapping service, right? And every single week, what I do is I post on my members area of my site, I post a weekly bet and breakdown and philosophy video. So it's usually about 45 minutes long. Doesn't matter how many bets we have on the card. I'll do a long, in-depth video, and I'll not only talk about what I'm going to be betting on and why we're betting on them, but I just talk about my philosophy behind the specific matchup, my philosophy on betting in general. And to be honest, I get a lot of messages, people saying, oh, you know, thank you, we cashed this week. But I probably get the same amount of messages of people saying, thank you for the video, you know, not only that we won some money, but actually that video where you broke down your thoughts, you broke down your process, you told me why you're betting on this guy, not only because you think he's going to win, but, you know, your philosophy behind it. And I don't think there's that much knowledge out there. You know, if you really want knowledge on gambling, you have to read a lot of books. A lot of them are from people who live in America, and it's not really MMA focused. So, yeah, it's definitely part of my, I'll say, journey that I feel like I have to help people with the knowledge behind sports betting, as opposed to just, this guy's going to win the fight, go and bet on this guy.
Yeah, like for me, one thing is blindly tailing people is, if you know the guy's super sharp, whatever. But in order for you to gain the knowledge, right, and you want to do it eventually by yourself, right, you need to garner other information that will help you also, as opposed to just watching and listening to just you, right? Like you should take that information, right, or get whatever information you have and build it up, right? Because like I said, at the end of the day, we're not always right, and you might see something as a person from the outside that we didn't see, right?
Yeah,
Putting
for sure.
even putting 2-3 videos together, with yours, mine, or whoever, and then say, whoa, they're missing this. This guy's missing this. I like this side because of that, or whatever the reason is. So
yeah,
yeah,
I agree. Totally agree, man.
Let me bring in Lion without further ado. Lion Picks Fights. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm sorry about the delay. I had a little bit of camera issues with my wire. Walked in the rain. I got a half a hurricane going on outside my house, but we're doing all right, man. We made it through. We got the water out of my wire, and we're ready to rock and roll.
All right, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Lion.
Absolutely, my man. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Before I move on, I put links for everybody in the description on my YouTube channel. You guys can, go to Lucrative MMA. He's got his own betting handicap site. His YouTube channel is there. His Twitter is there. Lion Picks Fights. His Twitter is there. His YouTube channel is there. Please go to their YouTube, subscribe. They give out great information. Awesome picks. Go ahead and subscribe to them. MMA Triple J, what's up, brother? Thanks you for joining us, bro. Thanks. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Absolutely, brother.
All right. Let me pull this up. All right. First fight of the night. I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, but Devicius, I guess, against Julia Polistria. Why don't you start off, James, on this one? I butchered those names, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's funny because when watching the tape on Jasmine, the commentators say her last name differently. It's Jazz Devicius, and then it's Jazz Devicius. So I don't even know what it is, right? We'll probably have to ask her herself. But with Jasmine, she's got a lot more tape than the other girl, right? The other girl actually, ironically, has more fights, but less tape, which is kind of annoying. The only tape I could see on the Julia girl, it seems like she's a Muay Thai fighter, because I actually got 3 fights of hers where she was fighting Muay Thai. She did look like, she's predominantly a striker. Even in that MMA fights, she's striking. So she comes from a striking background, a Muay Thai background. She seems like a decent Muay Thai fighter, man. On the other hand, we got Jasmine Devicius, or whatever you want to call her. She's more of an MMA fighter, right? More of an all-rounder. She's a lot bigger than Julia in this fight. And I think, that may cause Julia some problems, but Julia has been fighting tall girls. She's very small. I think Julia's like 5'2". So most of the girls she fights are taller than her. So it's not like anything. Even in her Muay Thai fights, I saw the girls had reach on her quite a lot of the time. So it's not like she's going to be, she's not facing a new threat here with someone taller than her. But Jasmine is not only taller than her, she has been fighting at a higher weight class as well. I think this is at straw weight. Julia has fought at atom weight in her career, which is a big difference, 20-pound difference. And that was obviously at the start of her career. Julia's filled out a little bit. She's definitely not. Sorry, I think I said this is a straw weight, but what I meant to say was this is flyweight. I think I'm correct on that one, right?
You got
Correct,
it.
Yeah. I get them mixed up all the time. But so Julia's fought a flyweight a lot of time. Now she's moving up to straw weight. So it's going to be interesting to see if she can deal with that strength that Jasmine seems to have, just in general. And then obviously Jasmine's a bigger girl, so the strength is going to be even more pronounced. I think Julia's a better striker here, definitely. I do think she's got a better technique on her striking. She seems to be, she seems to find flow state in a lot of her fights, right? So she'll get her swagger, she'll drop her hands, she'll start walking forward, which sometimes isn't clever because she can get clocked in the face. Luckily, she's not a heavyweight, so she doesn't need to worry too much about the power coming back at her, being a woman fighting at flyweight for strawweight most of her career. But man, I just can't really get behind the side here. I mean, it's minus 115 a pick and whatever you want to call it. Maybe some people got in on a plus number on Jasmine earlier in the week, but I can't really get behind a side because there's just not enough tape for me on Julia, right? So it's hard for me to say, yeah, you know, Jasmine's going to win this fight, because on the one hand, I think Jasmine's probably the better all-round fighter, you know, definitely better grappler, wrestler, jiu-jitsu, all of that. But at the same time, I haven't seen Julia taken down. I've seen her defend takedowns easily. I think I saw her taken down once. She got back up to her feet. She ended up stopping the girl later on in the fight. The girl basically tired herself out. And I think that was her last fight, or the fight before against Kuna, Carol Kuna or something. All off the top of my head, these names. Yeah, Jessica. So I haven't seen anybody take Julia down with consistency and, you know, win the fight. So it's very hard for me to say Jasmine's definitely going to be able to do that here. You know, we saw Jasmine do that against Elise Reed a couple of times, but she lost that fight. Now, you can say it was a close fight, could have gone either way. At the end of the day, she lost the fight, right? So it's hard for me to get behind the side here, because obviously on one hand, I do think Julia's the better striker, but she's not as good all-round fighter. So for me, on a betting, you know, on the betting front, it's a pass for me. I don't like any props on this fight either. But just for a pure prediction, I'm going to say that Julia defies the odds, defies the reach advantage, and she's able to actually keep the fight standing and able to take over in the second and third rounds. Because I really do think her striking is pretty solid. Her striking defense, don't really love it, but her offensive striking is solid. And I think she's going to be touching up Jasmine here, even with the reach disadvantage. So I'm going to go with Julia for a pick, but I don't really think you can get behind the side in this fight, to be honest.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Nice. Yeah, like the breakdown. Go ahead, Liam. What do you got on this? Is it Liam or Liam? I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name either. So which one is it?
Not a worry at all, my friend. Yeah, it is Liam. And it doesn't bother me either way, though, to be frank. Now,
Liam, brother, I'm sorry.
Dude, don't you worry about it. I would tell you, this is honestly the fight that I looked at the absolute least, right? And so I did take some notes on it. I looked into it a little bit, and I looked into it enough to know that I was going to pass on it completely. And that was because, you know, James had already mentioned that this fight has been sort of bet down already. There was an underdog price. Now a lot of it's hanging as a pick'em. The girl who was the underdog has been bet to the favorite on a lot of books. And so if there was value on this fight, I'm late to the party, first and foremost. But second of all, you know, the size difference, the age difference going in opposite directions doesn't, you know, make me feel confident in laying aside either way there. Just from a physical attribute standpoint. And I think that, you know, it's a very low-level matchup. I've noticed with these Contender Series fights, one of the hardest things to find is like relevant data and information. I had to go through, you know, a couple different articles to find what is not a very reliable indicator of her age. I think I marked down that she was 23 in some article, just some article by some guy. I don't know if it's true or not. So, you know, it's kind of hard to get official information on these fighters. And for that reason, you know, at this low level, not a big plus number, nothing to really sink my teeth into. This was the easiest pass for me on the card. And I don't even have a strong indication who's going to win this fight. You know, I would probably lean towards Julia. She's been a little more active, but, you know, I'm not going to count Jasmine out, certainly.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of, you know, I believe it or not, I found a good amount of tape on Julia. And funny thing is, the first thing that popped up that I found is this girl actually competes in something called beach boxing. So she's fighting in it's literally it's recorded. She's fighting on an actual in a ring on a beach on sand, and she's boxing. Okay, that's one. You know. Damn. The girl has, I think she's a Muay Thai fighter. She has a Muay Thai background, like you stated, James. She always fought her whole career at strawweight. She's moving up to flyweight. She's a pretty small girl for flyweight. She's 5'2". She's significantly smaller in this specific spot. JJ is actually she's 5'7". She's pretty big for for the 125-pound division. She has a good straight right. I like Julia's straight right. She is very bad defensively, though. She gets clipped a lot. There was the one fight that you guys probably didn't see that I saw. Julia absolutely get murdered in that loss to Machado. She was just constantly backing up, throwing a lot of Machado throwing a lot of volume, and she had no answers for her, just completely bullying her. throughout the fight. Then, you know, the one Kunha fight, you know, you go back and watch that. Jessica Kunha is actually a BJJ black belt. She's good on the ground. She's not a good striker. And she repeatedly kept landing the straight left, I believe, over and over again. So, yeah, she's defensively flawed. Like, we know that. But she is a good striker. The one issue I have that James mentioned is that I didn't see her on the mat too much. You know, the Kunha fight, she was on the mat for a little bit. She got up, right? So we don't have much of her being on the ground. On the other hand, you know, JJ, she has professional boxing experience. She's 3-0, I think, as a professional boxer. She's got good striking ability. I mean, she uses her kicks. She's also very, very defensively flawed. Like, you go back and watch her fights, she's getting lit up every fight. Like, she's bleeding from the mouth. She's got a cut eye, you know, what have you. You know, I've noticed she's flat-footed when she's striking. She's got a, you know, Muay Thai also background. But what I do like, and I like it a lot from her, is she's got really, really good clinch work. Very, very good knees. You see it in every one of her fights. Very good knees from the clinch. She does that Muay Thai, you know, little clinch behind the head and then just lands those knees, dude, like vicious. She's actually got 2 knockouts with them. One to the body, one to the head twice. She's got very nasty elbows from the clinch. She's got actually a really good body lock takedown. When she, for the most part, whenever I saw her get the body lock, they were always going down. So to me, it feels like she is strong when she gets that body lock. She gets these people down. They are 125 pounders. Again, I have to state that Julia is a natural strawweight. This is the first time she's fought at flyweight. So for me, yeah, the striking is going to be close because I think JJ has some decent striking, but I believe that she's going to be able to take Julia down just because of that size advantage. I believe that, you know, size and strength, that she's coming a natural strawweight coming up to flyweight, where I already saw JJ excel at taking down natural flyweights. I believe she's going to be able to do that here. The one thing is that I missed the plus money on her, and I wish I got in earlier. And I still took the plunge at -135. I just believe that, you know, the advantage there and in the clinch is going to be huge. And I just think she's a bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. I think the striking is just about equal. I don't think, you know, Julia is some, you know, great striker. So for me, I just think it's a better fighter, the stronger fighter, the bigger fighter, you know, and I saw it on tape, and that body lock I just think is going to work for her here. So yeah, I have one unit at -135. Again, I missed the boat, but I still think she's the better fighter here.
I'll just jump in and say quickly, you know, a lot of people shit on women's fights, you know, often they do go to decision. They do end up going over more than men's fights. But I think this fight's going to be really good because Julia is, she's an exciting fight. You know, she walks forward, she puts her hands down. That's why she's defensively bad. One of the reasons is because she just kind of walks forward with her hands down, you know, and she just swings big punches. She has very heavy power as well. So I think that it's going to make for a great fight because Jasmine, on the other hand, she also does the same. She walks forward. She doesn't put her hands down. She has her hands up. She tries to stay upright and keep her distance because she has good range. But she's, well, from what I've seen, she's always the one aggressing, always the one moving forward. And she even had an interview where she said, I walk forward, Julia walks forward, it's going to be a banger. And I tend to agree. I think both of them are going to walk forward, and it's going to be very interesting for me to see who takes the back foot, you know, who takes the center of the ring, because I think that could determine something in this fight.
I agree. The one thing I forgot to mention also, because great that you mentioned that, they both like walking forward, and I agree with that. But that one fight early in her career when she lost, that I saw to Machado, she was constantly on the back foot, and Machado, and she completely dominated her in that fight. And to see that, and to know that JJ is going to come forward, because she's like a zombie. She's constantly walking forward, eating. I mean, she ate a ton of punches from Elise Reed. She kept coming forward. And I believe that's what's going to happen. And if that happens here and she keeps Julia on the back foot, which she didn't look comfortable at all, it's also going to be a huge advantage there. But again, like you said, Jay, I mean, that was years ago. You know, that was early in her career. You know, now that I saw recent tape, obviously, yeah, she's constantly coming forward. And then that last fight, go ahead.
Just one more thing, not to stay on this fight too long, but just interesting because you have a bet on Jasmine. You know, you're saying she walks forward. She got hit by Elise Reed quite a lot. She's a zombie. I think Julia, like, I'm pretty impressed with Julia's power. Now, sometimes it's hard to, you know, determine how good their power is when they're fighting these people on the regional scene who have like one fight, right? And Julia does have wins over fighters with nine wins, 7 wins. But if you go on their record, all of their wins are against 0-0, 1-1 fighters, right? Yeah. So it's actually a little bit misleading. But from what I can see, Julia hits pretty hard, and it looks like her opponents kind of shell up when they get hit. So if Jasmine does get hit, it would be interesting to see. Like, are you worried about Jasmine getting caught and getting hurt at all in this fight?
You know, of course, that's always a worry when someone's defensively flawed. But I think in the same sense, just because, so my thinking is she's moving up from strawweight. You know, her power might translate at, I'm not saying it's not going to translate at flyweight, but I've seen her take punches from natural flyweights and never really got hurt, you know? So yeah, I mean, she could obviously hurt her. It's women's MMA, it's low level, but I also think JJ can actually hurt her pretty bad. I just think she has the size and strength advantage. Definitely. And I think and honestly, in women's MMA, being stronger is a big thing, because the difference in strength, I think, is pretty pronounced when it comes to women's fights. That's just how I see it.
Good luck. Good luck for sure, man.
Anaconda, thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thanks for joining us. Let's see who else we got here. Nuri Intakab. Is that how you pronounce your name? Tell him. Go ahead.
Liam.
There you go.
Liam picks fights, baby.
Uh-oh, my man, AJ. What's up, bro? Looking forward to this every morning. Keep up the great work, fellas. Thank you, bro. Hey, thank you for joining us, AJ, bro. This is one hell of a capper right there. Dave Crack, my man is chugging that drink. Boy, I'll tell you. Who's that? That drink right there?
You know, there's nothing even in there. I'm just trying to get my man Z a little plug. You know, you guys better go buy that. No, we do. We got the English tea in there, boys. You know, I'm an Englishman. Of course, I'm gonna be chugging my mug.
Awesome. All right, boys, let's move on then. You know, we spent, I think, a lot on that first fight, but hey, we got to make our points get across, right?
Yeah.
Second fight of the day, it's Jack Della Maddalena going up against Angel Losa. We'll start with you, Liam.
You got it, my man. This is a fight that I have a small investment in. So I'm on Losa here to win a unit. And you know, the reason being is just because I feel like this is, you know, a virtual pick'em fight. I feel like a lot of Contender Series fights are driven towards that. You know, I like to think of a 50-50 fight as having some element of unknowns, you know. It could play out a few different ways. And I think that Losa could definitely win this fight on the feet. I think he's a powerful guy. I think he could crack. So I think that this is a fight that's well within his wheelhouse, you know. Obviously, the other guy, he's got power, man, and that's the whole thing. He's got a highlight reel of those finishes, but I'm not really sold on the wins on the Della side. You know, I wasn't that impressed. He's got that one really fast submission loss, too, which is a bit of a concern. Granted, I didn't watch that fight, but it was to an 0-1 fighter at the time, so it's been a long time since he lost, though. Losa lost a split decision fight himself, otherwise hasn't lost. I feel like he's, you know, I don't know why he's the underdog here. I just feel like this is a pick'em type fight. And so if you're going to give me the plus money, I'm going to take it. That's how I felt about this one.
Awesome. So yeah, I kind of taped this fight extensively on both ends. And, you know, so I'll start out with Jack. Like, dude has, you know, he switches stances. He has pretty nice kicks. But, you know, taking some away from him, he's like low volume. Like the guy, I watch his fight. He starts out he's very low volume. He's always looking to counter. He's not going first. And against aggressive fighters, he's constantly backing up. And that's, you know, I saw that against, I want to say it right, but I think it was Pettigrew that kind of backed him up throughout that fight until he caught Pettigrew in that second round. But, you know, going back to him, like, his cardio is a big question mark to me. The guy is, you know, he hasn't been out of the second round, you know, in his career. So, you look back at his career and it's all like stoppage, first round, second round, first round. So we don't really know what his gas tank is like, in the third. One thing I did notice with him is when he gets people hurt, he's a good finisher. He goes for the kill, and he's his ground and pound is really, really heavy, but also on the flip side, man, you go watch his tape, man, he's getting hurt way too often in this regional scene. I mean, a bunch of this tape that you watch in that first round, and he's getting hurt. And then you listen to some of the commentary, it's like, Jack needs to get hurt or get hit a lot before he wakes up. Like, dude, that's not a good sign. What is this guy telling us? So you go back and look at the tape, and yeah, he's been getting hurt. And, let's talk about regional scenes. This is Australia. This is eternal MMA. To me, I'm not trying to put them down, but Australia, MMA is probably not that high level when it comes to regional, scenes. So, he's fighting these guys that are probably not that good. He's getting hurt many times in these fights. Yeah, he's coming back, but again, these guys are not, high level guys. You go back to the, Lusa side, dude has a really nice, powerful right hand up the middle. He's got a good 1-2. I like his 1-2. He steps really nice into his 1-2. Guy is very strong, man, like physically athletic. The one thing I will tell you right here is he is the much more athletic guy here. Guy is very strong, good takedown defense, really good takedown defense. Good hips. Many times I saw people shoot on him, looking like it was going to be a takedown. His hips are very strong, man. Dude, doesn't go down easily. The one thing I did notice is the guy slows down as the fight goes on. You see him kind of slowing down, kind of teetering off, like in that fight that I believe it was the Thompson fight. Man, he completely waned off in that third. He almost got stopped. He was getting battered in the third round by Thompson, who's not by any stretch of the imagination some great fighter, So that was a worry to me. He did come back in that Lubert's fight. He looked good, but again, same concept. He slowed down again in the third round. Lubert's won that third round to me, and he started catching him more in the third round. So now it's a pattern, right? 2 straight fights. I see it with this guy. He's starting to slow down in the third round. Before that, he's got stoppages in the first, a bunch of stoppages. So we don't know. But what I will say and what I do like is guy has a nice kicking game. The guy has been off for 2 years, which is a red flag, right? For the most part. But for those 2 years, the guy's been training at Sanford MMA. What I will say is the guy is young. He's 27 years old. So at 25, he started training at Sanford MMA. Is there going to be improvement? You have to think that a guy that's 25 years old that has all the athletic skills that Lusa has going to Sanford, he has to be improved. And even at not being improved, I still think he's the better fighter here, man. Like Jack gets hurt way too often, and I think Lusa's just gonna be too much for him, too athletic, too strong. And I have 2 units at plus 135, man. I think the wrong guy is favored. I think Lusa should be favored in this fight, and I think the line maybe has moved a little now. It's at 100 in some spots, plus 100. So yeah, give me Lusa, man. I think he's the more athletic, a guy that's probably sharpened his skills in the way better camp, So yeah, what do you have, James?
Yeah, first of all, this is going to be a great fight, man. This is really going to be a good fight because obviously Lusa's going to start hard. As you say, Jack, he can get hit hard early. The commentators do say that. I don't know if the commentators are like overblowing it a little bit because when I actually watch the fights, not necessarily gets hurt in the first round. Like he might get taken down with a big slam, and then the next time, they say, "Oh, he always gets, hurt in the first round." Well, no, not really. It was just a slam. It's not like a crazy thing. So I think that was overblowing that a little bit. They kind of used it like, yeah, he needs to get hurt and then he wakes up. But yeah, there is things that happen to him in that first round. I have seen him hurt in the first round too, and that's Lusa's best round, right? And just like you said, Lusa is one of these fighters where he starts hot and then he definitely slows down. Now, I will say that he reminds me of Punahele Soriano a little bit in the fact that even though he may slow down after the first round, he doesn't completely guess. He doesn't look for a way out, and he's still fighting to that final bell. 10 seconds left in the third round, he'll still be throwing punches. He'll still be trying to walk forward and stuff, So he definitely gasses out, but he definitely wears it well and he pushes through, So that's always good to see because that he's not just a one-round fighter, although his first round is always going to be his best round and there is a considerable drop-off. In regards to the Jack Della Maddalena cardio, I do think he's got good cardio. Now, obviously, we haven't seen him in the third round, I think, ever in his career, but I've seen him finish a second round and look very strong in that fight. Now, he was fighting a 2-0 guy, and, it was basically him just dominating the dude for the whole 10 minutes. So there was no adversity. So, that obviously impacts cardio heavily in MMA adversity. But I don't know, from what I've seen, it looks like Jack takes a while to get going, but then he really gets in his groove. I've never really seen Jack slow down. I've actually only seen Jack go harder and get stronger as the fight goes on, which is a direct opposite to Losa. So I do actually favor Jack in this fight, but ever so slightly. I don't think there's much value on the line at the moment, but if the line gets to like -125 Jack, I will probably play Jack. It's just there's a few red flags on. Sorry, go on.
I've got good news. Jack is available at -125 on betonline.ag and 5 times right now. DraftKings and William Hill as well. Wow, yeah, sharp line movement right there.
Yeah, he's -120, yeah.
So, having some issues with BetOnline and 5 times right now. They're only accepting crypto in New Zealand, even though they wasn't accepting that before. And now my crypto account's a bit... I never invested into crypto. I won't go into it all, but I can't get on them books at the moment. But anyway... If it goes market wide and some of the books, I may play it. Like a -125 around that. I'm still not fully decided. Maybe I'll go back and watch a couple of tape, but I think Jack's the better striker. I just believe he's a more well-rounded striker. Lusa's got the power. He hits harder, but I do like Jack's technique. I just like Jack's technique, and obviously, I do think if the fight goes long, Jack will probably start to take over. The only thing that's kind of keeping me off is obviously the line. It was like -150 when I last saw it. But also because of, Lusa's a much better camp now. You go on his Instagram, it's quite scary to bet against the guy. He's taking pictures with Gilbert Burns, taking pictures with Derek Brunson. You're like, oh, I really want to bet against this dude. But we can only go by tape, right, at the end of the day. And to be honest, if you go back and watch that Jonathan Thompson fight, he's like 9-5. Like, he's not a great fighter. The dude's a regional scene, like, LFA type like journeyman in a way, right? And he beat him there, and it was quite soundly beaten. Like, it wasn't controversial at all, and then he just squeaks by a split decision. I know that was a split, but then he squeaks by a split decision against Lubitz, who I don't think Lubitz is that great either. The guy was like 3-0 or something coming in, if I get the record up here. I don't know. I just don't really think Lusa's a great fighter, man. I think like early on, he's really strong, powerful, and he could definitely take you out in that first round. But I don't know, man. The longer this fight goes, I think if Jack can survive that first round, I think he can take over. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very close fight. I don't think anyone's should be super favored in this fight. So I'm not, strongly convicted on either side. But my thoughts are that Jack could probably take over if he survives that first round. But that is a big if, man, because Lusa hits fucking hard and he will try and take you out in that first round for sure. So yeah, it's going to be a great fight. No bet for me, but maybe I'll invest in Jack if people keep betting on Losa, because I've only seen Losa love at the moment. So if people keep betting on Losa, maybe I'll get invested in Jack, but we'll see.
Now let me ask you one thing. With Jack, doesn't it worry you that he gets hit so often? Like, you go back and watch that Pettigrew fight. That's concerning. Like, I don't think so. He took those punches from Pettigrew, but he's not going to be able to take them from Lusa. And it was constantly there in that fight, and it's constantly showing up in a lot of his fights. Like, I understand Lusa got hit a lot in the Thompson fight, but that was more attributed to him being tired, like, dropping more of his hands. He's getting tired because he's decent defensively when he has his cardio right. But once he's getting tired and the hands are dropping, he's flawed. But like, Jack's defensively is just bad from the very beginning, which is a big concern for me in this specific spot.
Yeah, Jack. What I see with Jack is he similar to Julia. He's like a flow fighter, right? So he takes a little bit of time to get into it sometimes, but when he gets into his groove, he starts switching stances.
Yeah.
He starts throwing like creative kicks. You know, he starts like kind of feeling his range. You know, it takes him a while to get that range distance, but if he is able to escape round 1, I'm not really worried about Losa taking him out in round 2 or round 3. So I'm only really worried about him getting KO'd in round 1, which is definitely possible. Like, I mean, this is Dana White's Contender Series. The finish rates in each division is like 5 to 10% higher, right? People come out, they're fighting for a contract. There's a lot more volatility in these fights. So I usually bet lower on these fights. And then I also expect different things in these fights. So, I mean, you got a fighter who starts a little bit slow, Jack, and then you got a fighter who starts really, really hot, and you got someone who gets hit early, Jack, and you got someone who hits early, Losa. It's kind of a recipe for a Losa round 1 KO. That's why I'm not so convicted on Jack, but I have to favor the guy who I believe is going to start to take over if the fight does get out of round 1, because we've seen Losa get out of round 1 his last 2 fights. Even in that fight against Kasanov, that was a crazy fight. If anyone hasn't watched that, go back and watch that fight, because it's like back and forth. But he just basically catches Kasanov cold, and Kasanov basically doesn't know what to do for the rest of the fight, right? Other than that, I haven't really seen, I don't know, but there's just not too much tape telling me Losa's this crazy round 1 knockout artist. Like, he looks like it, but when he's actually fought these guys, Colin Lubitz, Jonathan Thompson, he hasn't, you know what I mean? He hasn't really hurt them in round 1. Like, he won the fight, but like, I mean, he didn't really like almost knock them out or anything. So I'm not too worried about Jack getting KO'd in round 1, but obviously it's a possibility. Look, plus 130 you got in. I don't completely hate it, because there's definitely an argument to be made either side here. But just me personally, I do favor Jack slightly in this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with your points. Like, it's not like it's some slam dunk for me, of course. Yeah, like, because, that 2-year layoff is a question mark. His cardio is a question mark. Me personally, I'm expecting improvements, right? Like, going from wherever he was, I think he was at Hard Knocks, or I don't remember before us, Sanford MMA, but I think he was at Hard Knocks. Going from there to Sanford is a huge step, and being off for 2 years. And from his Instagram, it looks like he's been training for 2 years there.
For
right?
sure, yeah.
So, like, I'm expecting improvements. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm expecting improvements, and if he's even improved his cardio, by 15%, I think he should win fairly comfortably here, because I think that's his one problem, right? I really worried about his cardio late, but like you said, you saw Jack stop people in the second round, and he looked strong. But again, the level of competition, we haven't seen him in the third round, so we don't know. Especially after a tough first round, because that could taking a beating can zap your cardio too.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. There is question marks. You're right. I agree with some of the points you made, but I'm kind of banking on Sanford MMA improving this dude. And Henry Hooft kind of improving this guy.
Entirely in play. We've seen it many times before, so it's definitely in play, man.
Awesome. So, yeah, we'll move on to the third fight that I'm not really impressed with, but we have to cap this. One of you might have a bet on this, but third fight, we're going to heavyweight division. It's Lucas Brzezinski against Dylan Potter. I'm kind of going to keep it short and sweet here. First off, Brzezinski, like, I watch his fights, he's a stand-up guy. He's like, not much volume. The guy, I don't even think he shouldn't be fighting at heavyweight. He should be probably at 205. He's fought a decent amount of, in the regional scene in Babylon MMA over there. And I think that's out of Poland, if I'm not mistaken, right? That organization. But yeah, he's fought a bunch there,
Correct.
I believe what is it? Sorry?
Poland.
I said correct.
Yeah, Poland?
Yeah, it is in Poland.
Correct, yeah. So, he's fought over there. He's got some stoppages there against, I want to say decent regional competition. But, nothing impressive, right? So then you go to Dylan Potter and you watch his tape. The guy's fought at LFA. Again, a guy that should not be fighting at heavyweight. The guy is probably a 205er. He's fought at 205 before. Recently been fighting, I guess, at heavyweight for whatever reason. He doesn't also look the part. One thing I could say off the bat, these guys are not UFC material. I could say that right now. I don't care if they get a contract. I'm going to look to fade either one when they get into the UFC. But, Dylan Potter, he's got a, serviceable kicking game. He's got a nice kicking game. You see it in the LFA fight. Kind of defensively flawed too. Gets hit a lot. Early, I kind of worry for him early in that first round. He might, Lucas Brzezinski might take him out in that first round, because I think the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Potter, because I think he has the better cardio. He's got actually pretty good cardio. You watch his, I think it's the LFA fight that was on short notice against Myron Dennis, and he had good cardio going into the third round on short notice. So the guy has decent cardio. He's going to have the cardio advantage. It's a complete pass for me, dude. Like, I can't pick these guys without, it's just, they're so low level. They're not UFC material. I don't see one huge advantage for either side. So it's complete pass for me. What do you have, James?
So if you don't see a huge advantage for either side, you better be playing Dylan Potter at that plus 270, plus 290 price tag. No,
the thing is, I can't, man. The guy is not good himself. Like, he's not good, and I don't trust him whatsoever. I don't trust the guy. He gets hurt a lot.
You don't plus 290, man. You don't have to. He's
I
not
know.
there anymore.
I see what you're saying, but sometimes when you watch a guy, like, I have no trust in the guy, so I can't even lay that. Even though I'm getting 290, and I still think Brzezinski is the more natural heavyweight than Potter is. Right?
Yeah.
Potter's probably a 205er for sure. At least Brzezinski's been fighting at heavyweight for the past whatever. But I'm not picking a side. I can't get on any side, honestly.
Yeah. So So look, I completely agree with you. This fight is low level, man. Like, this is not a UFC level fight. Like, obviously, you look at Lucas's record, 8-1. You're like, oh man, he's a good fighter. When he lost, it was flash knockout, maybe. I didn't see it, but 24 seconds in, gets knocked out. It was only his third fight. But you go and watch the tape and you're like, I mean, the guy's got like a Polish name, he's from that region of the world. You're like 8-1. Okay, let me see this guy. And then you watch the tape, you're like, yeah, I don't know if this guy, I don't think this guy's UFC level. So I watch him, he's got decent takedowns. He's decent striker, bad striker. I mean, he wings his punches. One time I see him, do the Logan Paul against Mayweather, where he's like winging hooks like that, just chasing after the guy with his chin up in the air. I was like, damn, man, that's it's not a pretty sight, He's grindy, he won't really give up. Like, he'll continue to try and take you down, like he'll press you up against the cage. He's a strong dude, 6'4". Obviously, Dylan Potter's going to be undersized in this fight. I just don't see why Lucas is such a big favorite. At one point, Lucas got to like minus 350 or something. And then I pulled the trigger on Dylan Potter at plus 290. And that was market wide. That wasn't on one specific book. The whole market went plus 290. It's quite funny because a few hours later, I think he went back down to plus 230. So it just tells you like how quickly these Dana White's Contender Series low liquidity markets can move. So you have to be very quick when you see a line, move in your favor, or a line that you want to bet. But yeah, I pulled the trigger on Potter. I just think that this fight's a close fight. Like, it could go either way. Like, I guess maybe, you know what? I don't even favor Brzezinski in this fight. This is like a 50-50 fight to me. I feel like Dylan Potter, if he keeps it on the feet, he'll definitely win the fight. I mean, look, he could get taken out. Brzezinski's a bigger fighter, larger fighter, more powerful. Potter doesn't seem to have too much power. He's more of like a point fighter, which is funny, a heavyweight, right? But he is more of a point fighter. He's got good kicks up the middle. He'll throw spinning back elbows. He's a creative guy. He'll rack up points, right? And if the fight stays on the feet for 15 minutes, I'm pretty confident in saying Potter's going to be racking up the points. He's going to be teeping him in the gut. He's going to be leg kicking him. He's going to be jabbing him. He's going to be throwing more volume than the lowish volume of Lucas.
Brzezinski, yeah.
Now, obviously, the big X factor is, Potter's been taken down in multiple fights, and he gets controlled when he gets taken down. That's how he's lost most of his fights, right? You see him going back to like 2015 or 2017, Ronnie Marks triangle choked him right in the first round. But Ronnie Marks is a specialist, so Lucas is definitely not a specialist, so I don't take too much from that. Ronnie Marks can do that to a lot of people. Ronnie Marks is a good jiu-jitsu fighter. But even against Myron Dennis, last time I spoke about that, the reason he lost was because he was getting taken down a lot uncontrolled. But one thing I noticed in that fight and in some of his other fights was that he's got decent takedown defense up against the cage. Like, he's not that bad at defending wall takedowns, right? Mainly when I've seen him taken down is like his opponent either catches his kick and takes him down, or maybe, feints and then throws a reactionary double leg or a single leg. It's an explosive takedown. It isn't your general MMA, push you up against the cage, grind you, take you down, which is basically all I've seen from Lucas, right? I think Lucas likes to grind you up, get close to close clinch, try and drag you down, as opposed to shoot a blast double, feint, counter you, single leg, something like that, which is, what I've seen Lucas struggle with. His first level takedown defense against cage, not too bad. So I'm banking on Dylan hopefully being able to stuff the takedowns and just rack up some points. I don't really think he's going to stop Lucas. I don't really think Lucas is going to stop him either. Maybe he could sub him. He could stop him early, but I don't mind that over 1.5. That was at plus money on Bet Online yesterday. I don't know where it is now. So I don't mind that over 1.5. And then, I've took a small stab on Dylan Potter. Now, I'm making the case for Dylan Potter right here. But at the end of the day, it's a small stab. It's not even a 1-unit play for me. It's under 1 unit. But at plus 290, I see no reason why I can't play him. And that's my first play on this card.
You might have convinced me just because the one point you just made, and I'll be honest, I saw this on tape. Like, he's got really good takedown defense on the fence. It's when he's in space, he gets in trouble. And then he has a lot of the kicking game, like you said, and he gets his kicks caught, right?
Yeah, he does.
Like to me, like, go back and watch that Kita fight with Lucas. Kita's 39 years old, dude. Like, he looked terrible in that fight. So, like, I know Dylan Potter is not good, and I said that, but I still think, like I said, he's got a good kicking game. I think he's the better striker, technically better striker than Lucas. So if this fight, like you said, doesn't end up on the ground for long periods of time, standing, I do believe Dylan should win on the feet. And like you said, most likely he's probably not going to stop him. He's not that type of, like Potter, he's not that finisher, right? He doesn't have that finishing power. And again, he's not the natural heavyweight here. So, like, I just looked at it and I might take a stab. By decision, Dylan Potter at like plus 700 in some spots. Damn, I might take a stab on that, man.
I like it.
But hey, you convinced me, dude. See, I'm getting a bet in now. Go ahead, Liam. What do you got, brother?
Absolutely. And, me and James discussed this one a little bit. I do disagree, but ever so slightly, right? So I'm going to go ahead and first off agree with your overall assessment that these aren't really UFC level guys. And I think that we're all, aware of that fact. When you watch back the tape, you're not blown back by either of these guys. But I will say that this is one of the matchups I went deeper on tape on this card. And I found it interesting, man. I think that Potter, James is correctly identifying that if he's on the feet, he should have a decent enough chance here. And that's because anybody on the feet with Brzezinski has a decent enough chance. He just doesn't have a great chin. He's not a great striker, doesn't keep his chin tucked. So when you don't have a great chin and you don't keep it tucked, you run in with your chin up in the air, swinging hooks, you're always in danger, right? And even in the fights that he wins, Brzezinski has gotten his face busted up. The Zverna, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's got a C at the beginning and then it's Verna. But, he had a tough enough fight with that guy when he was winning, dominating, but he ate a hard uppercut and he didn't wear it that well on his face. And that's my cause of concern here on the Brzezinski side. But otherwise, I think Dylan Potter's not very good. And I think that on top of that, Dylan Potter's severely undersized in my view. Now, that being said, he missed weight for a light heavyweight fight last time out, so he can't be that undersized. I think it's a little bit of the weight hopping, not really decisive about where he's going to fight. But if I'm not mistaken, he had fights at 170 and 175 early on in his career. So this is a guy who's like, he's just gotten fatter. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to, that's just objectively what's happened. He's been a grown man this whole time. So he's put on a little size, a little mass. And, honestly, maybe it'll help him compete because like the bigger you get, the less skillful people tend to be. The more that you could try and outsmart somebody and maybe have a little time to get out of the way when the big hammers are coming. But I do think that, Potter's always going to be in danger at heavyweight, in my opinion, because he doesn't have the same kind of punching power that his opponents are going to have by birth of their size, right? Just like Brzezinski's been naturally weighing in. Now, granted, he's not this massive, 265-pound heavyweight either, but I do think Brzezinski's the bigger guy here by a margin. That being said, right, I also think that Brzezinski is going to catch kicks and take him down. Like Potter just does not stop throwing kicks, and Brzezinski doesn't want to be on the feet. He's completely uncomfortable there. So I think that, a lot of times we've seen him try and push people up against the cage. I think that he's going to do some of that here. And I think that he might even get takedowns against the cage because of his size. A big guy pushing a tall person against the cage, still going to be able to lift the legs out from under him if they have any decent wrestling skills. And so, Brzezinski, you would hope that that's all he's working on. His striking is just not good. So, I think that Brzezinski is probably going to be able to get takedowns in this spot. I think that, he's probably live to find a finish if he does. And the reason being is because Potter doesn't control posture very well. He likes to play a little bit too much from the guard, in my opinion, starts looking for arm bars and these kind of things. And I've seen him get beat up from the bottom more than once. I think that Brzezinski, if he's able to get top position here, could hindsight look like the price that he's, being pushed out to. All that being said, the line's gotten out of hand, right? I played Brzezinski and Mo Miller as a parlay. Mo Miller minus 240, which I'm proud I got that one because that's long gone. And then Brzezinski at minus 255, which that's also gone as far as I'm aware. I'm going to look real quick on best fight odds. But yeah, Brzezinski minus 275 on Betway is the best you can get, and everywhere else has minus 300 or above. So, I do think that Brzezinski is getting a little bit of love here because he's fought better quality competition. And he's fought people with better professional records. And, Potter has he got out wrestled by kickboxer Myron Dennis in a pretty embarrassing fight, in my opinion. Granted, it's on short notice, but he's the guy who comes in 7 pounds or whatever it was overweight and gets out wrestled by a kickboxer throughout. I was just like, man, that's a really bad look. I can't back Dylan Potter with significant financial investment, but I would say that I am probably going to have to touch this plus 300 number that I'm seeing now because it's just an easy way of hedging that parlay, covering my ass no matter what. Now I'm going to probably be able to turn a profit there. So I'm excited about it, man. Everybody keep betting on this guy now. I like Brzezinski at minus 250 barely. I thought that he was maybe a small parlay piece to keep my exposure down on him. I didn't want to bet a lot on this guy, but I do think he's going to win this fight, probably 3 out of 4 times. And so that for me was enough to get involved. But I also do think his chin is so suspect that more than a unit is just a little cavalier with your finances.
Good points. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is the first fight we kind of like, not first fight that we disagreed, but I guess we disagreed here pretty much, from watching the tape. Like I said, Lucas just stand-up is atrocious, and yeah, maybe you're right, and he catches kicks, and we did see that, and that's possible. But yeah, I mean, his takedown defense for the most part, like you said, against the fence is pretty good for Potter, and if he can keep it upright, I think this is his fight to lose. But yeah,
my only concern with Potter decision, man, is just that I do think Potter, if he wins this fight, is probably going to kick him and knock him out with a head kick. Because, dude, like he is really, really chinny. And Potter, for all of his faults, like he can get an impressive high kick off for a heavyweight. Can kick pretty. He's a little confusing with his kicks. Like he'll bring him to the midsection, he'll bring him to the legs, and he'll bring him to the head. And at heavyweight, that's a rare skill set. So I do think he might chin him with a head kick and make me look really stupid, but and make James look really smart. So either way, I'm happy with that outcome.
All right. Great points, guys. We'll move on then to the fourth fight. We have Albert Duryev versus Kyle Bettencourt. Why don't you lead us here, James?
Yeah, man, there's just no tape on this Kai guy, right? I mean, I couldn't really see much on this dude. Like, obviously, he looks like he's big guy. I mean, 6 foot. Yeah, he's got quick finishes. In the fights I saw, they all finished in round 1. I think I watched 3 of his fights. I think all 3 of his fights, the dude had the same surname who he was fighting. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Are they all brothers or something? He's just beating up brothers, like crazy regional scene in Brazil.
Same guy twice. Same guy twice. Definitely.
Right, yeah. And then there was another dude, right, with the same surname.
Frankson Ferreira and I'm looking it up. Adelson Ferreira.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just saw 3 fights and I had like less than 3 minutes tape in total of them, so I don't have any opinion on this dude. The guy who he fought twice was 0-0, and then he fought him again 0-1 because he just beat him and made him 0-1. So I mean, I don't have any opinion on this Kai dude. Duryev, on the other hand, he looks good, man. Yeah, he looks fine, to be honest. Like nothing really wrong with him. He became welterweight champion and middleweight champion at ACB, so he was champ status over there. Beat some notable fighters, Clifford Starks. I've seen him rocking around before. Yeah, he looks like decent all round fighter. Like he'll take you down, finisher. The guy's a massive favorite. I think he's going to win the fight pretty handedly. But the thing is, I don't know what we're getting with Bettencourt. Bettencourt has a long record, like 14-6, But out of his 20 fights, I can get 3 minutes worth of tape. So I mean, I don't know what to make of the dude, to be honest. So I don't really have a big, prediction in this fight. What I will say is that Bettencourt seems like he hits fucking hard, but the guy I don't like. I've seen him in 3 fights. I've seen him fight 2 people, so I don't really know if he hits hard. He does seem like he hits extremely hard, though. Like he'll just put someone out unconscious with 1 shot, which is pretty brutal. So just for that fact, when I see him at like plus, what did he get to? Duryev was minus 380 last time I looked. So like Bettencourt was like plus 330 or something. Is that right?
It's kind of down.
I don't think he ever got that high. Plus 300 is the highest that I have seen so far in the market.
Bet Online has it's minus 425 Duryev right now.
Yeah. So what is Bettencourt there?
Plus 325.
Oh, I'm playing that. I'll tell you right now, boys.
So like I saw plus 290, plus 300, like that range, and I was like, I mean, just because he seems like he hits like really hard, like maybe it's just worth that because, just for that, literally because I don't really know what we're getting with him. But other than that, man, yeah, Duryev probably will get the takedowns and do what he wants. But how can I really cap it against a fighter I know nothing about?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'll go next here. I taped this a little, like you said, Bettencourt. There's not much tape on this guy. I did get some, he's a BJJ black belt. He's to me, like watching some of the tape, he's really stiff on the feet when it comes to striking. But dude, this guy throws some like wild kicks. You watch some crazy kicks, crazy punches. Dude seems like he has really, really big power. Because like you said, when he's landing, it's that initial punch that's completely putting the lights out to these guys, right? They're out already. And he's following up with something else, trying to actually kill these poor guys, Guys already out. But red flags all over the place for me on this guy, right? 17 fights in your career, and you fight a guy that's making his pro MMA debut, and then you fight him again when he's 0-1. Like, dude, that's a red flag for me. Why are you fighting 17 fights in your MMA career fighting a guy that's making his pro MMA debut? That's just not good. That's a red flag.
He must have had like some.
I think it's like a gym rivalry. I think it was like a gym rivalry or something like that. Because dude, the second one literally takes place in like a gymnasium. It is like a MMA gym with like people just gathered around. It is a local fight, in my opinion.
Is it?
Carry on.
It must be. It must be because he rematches the dude, after he just killed him in round 1 and he's got 17 fights in. I was just going to say, it must be some beef on the streets in Brazil and they just organized the fight.
We don't know. It might be. To me, I just look at some of those and I kind of get red flags from these people. Obviously, you watch the guys he's fighting. They're really low-level guys, regardless. You watch these guys. They're not good. You go see who they beat. Not good. Another big red flag, right, for both these guys, 3-year layoff for both, right? what the hell have they been doing for the past 3 years? So 3-year layoff for both guys. Bettencourt says he's 30. I'm going to kind of question that because he looks a lot older than 30, but says he's 30. He's been gone for 3 years. On the other hand, Duryev, like, he's got these, to me, like he's got nice, he switches stances really nice. He's really comfortable, southpaw, orthodox. He looks really good. Has a big overhand right. But the one thing I did see is he carries his right hand really low in a lot of these fights, dude. And, it's a concern versus a big puncher or a big kicker or whatever, Bettencourt has to offer here. But the one thing I will say is that, the guy's been 5 rounds. The guy has better cardio. I can guarantee you he's going to have better cardio here. He's been 5 rounds. Bettencourt is just like, he's got 6 losses. 5 of those losses, I think he's been knocked out, or 4 he's been knocked out. Once he's been subbed. So the guy gets stopped when he loses, apparently. Killer be killed type of fighter, right? That's the kind of fighter, and that's how he looks like on tape, to be honest. Guy's a madman. I don't blame you guys if you're gonna bet this guy at plus 325, because there's a lot of unknowns, right? Both guys 3-year layoffs. What I will say is Duryev has really good calf kicks. Whether they're gonna work here or not, I don't know. He's got really good calf kicks. But when I look at it more like, under 2.5 might be. I don't have a play currently, but under 2.5 might not be bad here, just because of how Bettencourt fights, dude. The guy fights like a madman. I know it's a juiced number, but I don't have anything currently, to be honest. It's just not enough tape on Bettencourt, and yeah, he has power, but he has power against who? Like 0-0, 0-1 guy that he keeps lighting up. So I have questions. Go ahead, Liam. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you.
No, you first, James.
I was just gonna say, because you mentioned the under. I actually written my notes under 1.5. See what the price is when it's released, because I don't see this fight going long, man. I mean, I don't know much from that Bettencourt, but what I do know is the guy's gonna try and knock you unconscious. He's gonna try and snap your ankle off. Like, he's gonna try and finish the fight. And I haven't seen him go long. Duryev also is a finisher. And I don't know. I feel like that under 1.5 could be a spot. I read it down to bet it, but I cannot tip it because it's not widely available yet. I wait for the lines to be widely available before I actually lock it in on BetMMA.tip. So I'm going to see where it is. If it's like minus 150, 160, I probably won't bet it. If it's like a pick'em and that, even if it's a pick'em minus money, I'll put my money down. So we'll see where it is.
Minus 105 on Bet Online currently.
Yeah, so we'll see where it goes when it goes widely available on multiple books, which should be in the next few hours, hopefully.
I don't hate it.
I'm looking at the under 1.5. I don't know what Liam thinks about that, but I am interested to hear what Liam thinks, because I know Liam's got a bet on this, so I'm really interested to see. Take it away, my man.
The floor is yours, Liam. Go ahead.
All right, boys. I dropped a hammer here. 3 units. Chow Bettencourt. Plus 300, and wow, I can break it down for you. I got a couple reasons for this one. First and foremost, right? I talked about it on a couple plays ago, but I said, when there's a greater amount of uncertainty, in my mind, that should push the line towards what? 50-50. If we don't know, if we have nothing to base our opinion on, then it's 50-50. So I would point out in this spot, right? I don't think it's a 50-50 fight. But I do think there's a lot to like about Chow Bettencourt. Number 1, he's the younger guy. Number 2, he's the bigger guy. Number 3, he's a plus 300 underdog. And this is a guy who's been knocked out 3 times in the first round, I believe. I'd have to double check that. If I'm wrong, Duryev, all 3 of his losses are by KO. Granted, some of them are down at 170, but we've got a guy who's competing at 185 and 205 against a guy who's competed at 170 and 185. And we're going to say that the guy who's the smaller guy, who's very heavy on the lead foot, who's been KO'd in the first round more than once, we're going to say it's a sure thing he's going to win this fight. I don't buy that. I think that's crap. And do I think Duryev's a talented guy? Sure. Yeah, he's absolutely. Just like Muin Gafferoff last week. Talented guy. Absolutely. Is he a minus 400? No, he's just not. And I don't think that a guy who hasn't fought since 2018 is a minus 400. I don't think a guy, who's been knocked out, 3 times in that first round is minus 400 material. Given that, he's not beating guys in the UFC. He's beating, pretty good, obviously solid Russian, it's a tough regional scene. Brazil's not an easy regional scene. Sometimes guys get gift matchups. Obviously, Bettencourt got a few of them, but Bettencourt, a lot of his stuff you can't find because if you just look up Chow Bettencourt, it's not going to come up. You have to look up Chow Leoa, which is what he was like also billed as in his Brazilian fights. I've noticed a lot of the Brazilian guys get billed by multiple different names. I have sent you guys the notes that I have taken on Chow Bettencourt because I have more fights than you guys had access to for sure. Zach Sanford, by example. Like I definitely got more fights. I watched some of his old jiu-jitsu tape, which, by the way, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old jiu-jitsu tape available on YouTube. So the guy's been at the martial arts for a long time. You look at the finishes on the Duryev side, more often than not, they're coming by way of submission. So he's taking on a Brazilian who's probably going to be pretty adept on the ground. Granted, that's the most limited part of the tape because Bettencourt gets out there and stiffens these guys. When he lost, guys, this is before 2014. So it's like, just like Duryev's lost her before 2014. So if we're going to throw him out for Duryev, then I say let's throw him out for Bettencourt. Now I did the same thing with Heliger last week because I was like, all right, everybody thinks he sucks because he was 2-5 to start his career. That was 2014 and prior. Let's look at what's happening now. He's 8-0. He's winning real fights over credible guys. What I'm looking at here is Chow Bettencourt. He's the younger guy who went away for 2-3 years. I'm expecting a better version of Chow Bettencourt when he comes out here. And whether or not he can win a decision, he could definitely knock out or submit Duryev. And I just have no doubt in my mind that that's true. He cracks. He hits really damn hard. He has a Hendo Bisping like knockout on his regional footage. The last time that we did see him, he steps up to 205 pounds and deadens some, obviously not athletic looking big dude, but just he can hit like a damn truck. And that's at 205 pounds when he's the smaller guy. So I feel like in this spot, this is a dog or pass situation. If it's minus 400 on Duryev and you're saying I have no concerns about that, I just think God bless you because I would be sweating the shit out of that ticket knowing what I know about Chow Bettencourt, which is that if he touches you one time on the chin, he could shut your lights off, and that Duryev has been touched on the chin and had his lights shut off. Not I got TKO'd and I was like, oh, no. It was –
yeah.
Out cold snoring, have to wake him up 2 minutes later. So I just don't think that this is I don't think it's a sensible line. I'm going to exploit it. And I got free wagers as well on that. I saw Bettencourt plus 325. I just added, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I'm not going to take away from your points. Like you've watched more tape on Bettencourt. What I will say is, I know he got stopped. Like you said, Duryev got stopped, but look at the guys he got stopped by. Those guys are high-level guys. Tokov is a great fighter. Ramzan Ameev, he's a UFC fighter. The guy, competition-wise, like, it's not even close, right? Like,
I would agree.
Duryev has fought the way, way better and beat the way better competition, right? We could definitely take that from just looking at who they fought, right? Not even looking at the tape. And then you see him stopping, Duryev stopping pretty good regional guys. Guys that are pretty good in the regional scene, in the Russian scene. So he has beat the better guys. He's fought the better guys. I'm not going to take away the fact that Bettencourt can put his lights out because he's gotten his lights put out. But there's a lot of unknowns from each side based on the 3-year layoff too. Like it concerns me on both ends. Like both guys have been off. Why? I couldn't really get. I don't know if you guys got any information as to why both guys were off for 3 years. Do you guys have anything on that?
I don't know, man. No.
Yeah. I can tell you that for whatever it's worth, my one man, C. Hansen, said that Chow has been inactive, but he has been fighting in Thai fights.
In what?
So I haven't Thai fights. I haven't seen it myself, but that's what he was saying that he's been doing to pass the time, and I hope so.
Hey, he might have been the more active fighter. I'm not going to say he hasn't, but
I have a question for Liam.
Sure,
Liam. You spoke a lot about the first round knockout, right, or the knockout for Bettencourt. Are you betting on him like, do you have any faith that he could win an extended fight, or are you just like, I think he's going to knock him out early? Let me just bet him.
So here's what I think. I don't know. I haven't seen tape of him go past the second round. I don't even know that the tape exists, but I could not find in my searches. But do I think that a guy who's been training jiu-jitsu his whole life is just going to get completely wrestle-F to death? No, that I don't. I think that that's going to be a little hard to do in this spot. And I think that, if he gasses, then I'm a little concerned. If he doesn't gas, I feel very good about the ticket no matter what. So I do think that a lot of his win condition is a finish, but I also don't think that that's necessarily consigned to the first round. He knocked out Zach Sanders in the second round, by example. So I think that he could definitely win this fight in the first 2 rounds. I think he's got at least 8 minutes of gas, let's say. And I think on top of that, let's say he surprises us. Let's say he does have 15 minutes of gas. Now everybody who bet that minus 400 is fucked. So I don't know. That's how I feel about it. I think that with the unknowns and with the fact that if this is the 7.5 minute fight that most people are expecting it to be, then I think that could go either way. I think that is Duryev minus 150.
Like, I mean, I want to pose a question to you too. Like, and I'm not trying to jump on you on this pick because, hey, listen, if you think that's value, it's value, right? But you're talking about Duryev and getting his chin lights out, and that was early on in his career. We must say, right? It was early on. You could say the same exact thing for Bettencourt, right? Because he's been knocked out 5 out of 6 times. So his chin probably is not good himself, right? Just and we're talking about being knocked out by a lot less of a competition, right? So that it's a big worry too. Like the guys that he's fighting and getting knocked out by.
But he was also getting knocked out in 2014. So it's like I hear you, but it's been a while. Let's see.
But so is Duryev. It was in 2014.
He's probably got a better pharmacist now, man. I have much more faith in the pharmacy that we have going into the Dana White's Contender Series than the Brazilian regionals, my man.
But yeah, I'm just trying to make points for both sides. I hear you.
No, absolutely.
You probably have the right ticket based on that alone, right? Because it's an unknown, and both guys have been knocked out in the first round. So, yeah, good points.
Well, I can tell you that early in the week, everybody was riding my way, and the line was coming down, 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 and now the action's starting to come back the other way as well. So people feel both sides of this. Last week, my Chad and Heliger play, the market went against it over and over and over, and I kept adding to it. So, I'm not afraid of doing that here. I'm not going to add much more. I feel like at plus 325, I don't think it's going to go higher. So, man, I feel good about this play, and win or lose, I feel like I'll be able to look myself in the mirror after, because I don't think that anybody has a clear read on what's going to happen in this fight. And so, like James was saying, honestly, I think Potter is like a harder fighter to back because he's so there's less to like about him. Chow Bettencourt, there's a lot to like. In my opinion, I think he's got a lot to like. So, I'm willing to take the gamble. I'm willing to take the risk. And if Chow Bettencourt wins, I'll tell you, it's going to be a very Merry Christmas in the Haslin household.
I'm praying for you, my man.
Yeah, same here. I don't have anything, crossed. So I hope he comes through for you.
Yeah.
We'll move.
Appreciate you, boys.
This is my main event, guys. Fight number 5. It's Mo Miller versus Brandon Lewis. I could start this one off because I have a monster play on this. We talked about this. I'll start with the Miller side. I like almost everything I see from this guy. I think this guy is a prospect in the UFC, to be honest. His wrestling is insane. Very, very strong guy. I mean, when this guy gets a hold of you, you are going down, dude. You're not stopping this guy from taking you down. This guy's a 3-time All-American wrestler. He's got good striking. He's got a good gas tank. I guess he's got a Taekwondo background. I don't really see it too much in the fights because he just uses his wrestling so much. He's so dominant with his wrestling. He's competent down there when he's down there, holding you down, position. I mean, the guy has everything. Going on the Lewis side, there's a lot of things I didn't like. The guy's undefeated. Guy's, still young. But red flag one is the guy had back surgery, had 3-year layoff, came back last fight up against who was it? Meza, who's not good at all. And this guy freaking lit him up on the feet, dude. Like something you don't want to see. Another thing that you saw is gas tank did not look good whatsoever for Brandon Lewis. Gassed big time towards the end of that fight. Like I said, constantly getting hit. But there is some positives. I don't want to just shit on the guy completely because guy is extremely aggressive. Crazy fucking, kick punch game. Like the guy just wants to lay you out. Very aggressive. Strong. Looks like he's strong himself, guy. But, huge height and reach disadvantage here for Miller. It's going to be a huge advantage for, huge disadvantage for Lewis. He's the much smaller guy, shorter reach. Guy is basically, when I watch him on tape, he wants to take, 3 to 4 to land his one, right? That's just what he looks like. He wants to land the big shot. But, the grappling is going to be huge, advantage for Miller here. He's going to take him down. There's nothing that Lewis is going to be able to do to stop Miller from taking him down. Like Miller's is too good with his wrestling. He's going to take him down. I think he's going to stop him. Even on the feet, I think Miller has a big advantage. Like he's so flawed. Lewis is so flawed when it comes to his striking defensively. It's not good, man. And I think this line was completely off. -2. I got it -240. It's an absolute gift. I got 12 units on it to win 5. Right now we're looking at Miller, dude. He's -500 in a lot of spots. So give me Miller all day, probably inside the distance. Yeah. Go ahead, James. What do you have, man?
Yeah, man. It's funny because Brandon Lewis, like he's pretty decent, man. Like he's all right all over. He's got decent striking offense, decent striking defense, decent takedowns, decent wrestling, jiu-jitsu, decent cardio. Like the guy's a decent fighter. He's just coming up against someone who's better than him at all of that stuff. He's just a better mixed martial artist. Because when I first watched, when I was taping his fight, I watched Brandon Lewis initially, right? And I'm like,
me too.
I'm like, this guy's pretty decent. Like he hasn't really got too many weaknesses. You watch the George Billy fight, he gets hurt a little bit, but like not too much weaknesses. The guy looks pretty decent. Then he takes that 3-year break and you see him come back against Jimmy Meza. And then that's when you're a little bit like, oh, okay. Like, so his limit is starting to be shown here, because before that, I'm not going to say he's flawless, but he's winning the fights fairly comfortably other than the George Billy fight. And he's doing well, right? But then you see that Jimmy Meza fight after that 3-year absence, 2-year absence, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's probably quite limited. But look, he still seems like a good fighter. Should he be plus 300 or whatever? You go and watch Mo Miller and you're like, yeah, he should be plus 300. Maybe he should be even a little bit bigger. Mo Miller, he seems like a great fighter. I don't want to go too crazy on the dude because, like, he hasn't really fought great guys. Like, obviously, he's very young, but like from what we see from him, I think we all agree, right? He reminds me of Montel Jackson a lot, man. He reminds me of, just how big he is. He's got a lot of range. He got a lot of size. He throws that straight 1-2 that Montel Jackson likes. The dude has good wrestling, which Montel Jackson has good offensive wrestling, not defensive wrestling. That's a big hole in his game. But don't know about Mo Miller. But even, when he grabs a hold of you, you can't break his locks, exactly like Montel Jackson. He really reminds me of Montel Jackson, his game. And I think he's probably going to be able to stop Brandon Lewis here. I think he's probably going to make it look easy. He'll probably drop him on the feet and then just ground and pound him or something. He can probably slam him. It's definitely his fight to lose. I think he's going to dominate in this fight, really.
I mean, he had a slam KO in his last fight, right?
He ragdolled the guy forever, dude, until he finally slammed him.
I mean, when he grabs that clinch, he is so damn strong, man. Like, dude, picks him up like nothing, man. And just impressive tape from this guy, dude. Like, if he could just improve a little bit more of his boxing and stuff, and also maybe get a little bit more of his submission game, man, this guy is dangerous, dude. And I think he's going to be a problem in that division in the UFC.
What I'd like to see from him is go to a solid camp, because he's just at some, camp in his local area or something. I don't think he's at a well-known camp. Do you know anything more than I do?
I think I don't know if I saw something. I would have to go back. But you might be right. I'm not sure. Maybe it was someone else and I'm confusing him. I thought he moved, but nothing special. I don't think he's like at some big camp. No.
From what I could see, like he wasn't like I see him. I think he got brought in, or he either got brought in to spar with someone for their fight, and I'd say who that is in a minute, or he just trains with this dude, Taiwan Claxton from Bellator. You probably know Taiwan Claxton.
Yep.
But other than that, I couldn't really see him any pictures or any information of him with any professional fighter. So that's the only thing I would say, just go to a solid camp, because we know the skills are there, right? It looks like he could develop into a very, very solid fighter if he's around other high-level professional fighters. And to be honest, if he isn't there already, if I'm not mistaken, after this weekend, I think he's going to put on a show for us. After Tuesday, tomorrow, he's going to put on a show for us. And I think a lot of big camps are going to come calling, or it's going to be a lot easier to go to them big camps, So, yeah.
I must say, I believe he was actually supposed to compete in the tough. I forgot when
he was,
and he would have wiped them out. That's how confident I am in this guy. Like, this guy's legit, man. And like you said, give him a good camp, let him start training there. This guy's a big problem, man. Like, his wrestling his cardio is, to keep up that strength as much as he grapples, and to keep that strength, guy is extremely strong, good cardio. Let me bring Lion back in. Sorry. That water's getting us, man. That water's getting us.
I'm absolutely getting hammered here. I can hear the rain through my headphones as well, which is absolutely absurd. But if we're talking about Mo Miller, which I believe we are, I was cutting in and out for a second, boys, but I believe we're asking about his camp. He trains at Strong Style MMA. That I'm sure of. And Strong Style MMA, I did used to train there, full disclosure. It is one of the better mixed martial arts outfits in the Midwest, regionally in the United States. And now, granted, I was there doing MMA grappling classes and jiu-jitsu classes for people that aren't professional fighters, obviously. But I will say, I just know that in the area, it's well regarded as the best gym.
I have to make a point. That's what I remembered. I'm sorry. Stipe trains from there. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Stipe trains there.
Formerly Jessica
I kind of jumbled my head. Go ahead.
I said formerly Jessica I, not that that's a big bolster to the camp, but just as another UFC fighter that's there.
No, but they have other good fighters there. I want to say they have Matt Brown, Cody Garbrandt, I think used to be there, or still there. I'm not sure, but he used to be there. So they have a good camp. I know that. So it's not some low level camp, but I still agree with James. I think that he could, if he transitions to something a little better, obviously the Sanfords of the world, stuff like that, guy would probably get even better because he's still young, right? Go ahead, Lamb. You didn't break down the fight, so we're gonna give you the floor now.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. And so, the other thing I could add, just because it's a place that I'm regionally familiar with, is that, Northeast Ohio is just absolutely overflowing with stud wrestlers. And so it's no surprise that that's where Mo Miller is training and that's where he hangs out. He is one. He fits in well there. And, it's just a culture of wrestling. They're very good wrestlers out there, and there's a lot of them popular at the youth level. So you can get a ton of good training in. You can get a ton of competitive rounds. There's probably 8-10 colleges with very solid programs, all within 25 to 45-minute driving distance of Strong Style. So just absolutely loaded with training partners from that respect. If I had to give my only concerns for him in this fight, I don't like that he sticks his head in guillotine sometimes. Obviously he's very positionally sound as a wrestler and as a grappler, and that's the only thing I noticed on tape that bothered me. Because it happened a few times where he gets a little overzealous sometimes. Like he almost got Gogo Plata. If you guys saw in the fight with, exactly. That was just not to say that it was that close. It's a move that you're really not going to finish at that level. But man, it was like, for me, the kind of thing that I see wrestlers do a lot in jiu-jitsu class, right? Which is just like, make a panicky mistake trying to hold on to somebody and keep them close. That being said, though, his ground and pound is phenomenal. Obviously knocked the guy out with the slams, but if you watch that fight, you know, he could have been knocked out on any of them. He was just getting absolutely sent up in the air. And, you know, there's things you could do to try and avoid that. I don't know that that guy was all that competent, didn't really tie up the legs very well. You know, if you're going to get, if the guy's going to try and throw you, you have to put something in between his legs to say, okay, yeah, try and throw me. Now both of us are falling over in a really awkward fashion. That's what you have to do. The guy was focused on fighting hands over and over and not learning his lesson, kept getting bombed. You know, I think a better fighter will probably make some adjustments there and maybe not keep standing up as tall as possible, trying to break the lock with the 2 fingers on the hip, old school wrestling style. Just was a really bad look. You got to work a Kimura. You got to trip with the feet there. You got to do something to intercept. So, you know, I won't belabor the point. Mo Miller's the favorite in this fight for a good reason. I think that he's the better fighter. I will, you know, just second the point that you got to watch the tape on these guys because you'd think Lewis is a terrible fighter based on this line. It's just not true. It's just like he's a pretty decent fighter, you know, especially for that, you know, 5-0 records. Not a ton of tape available on these guys. You'd think, man, these guys are probably not that good. No, you got to go back. You got to watch some of that amateur film as well. And that's where I really thought that these guys shine, man. And, you know, obviously he took that one loss. It wasn't that terrible. I forget the gentleman's name. You mentioned it before, James, but yeah, it wasn't the worst looking loss of all time, but he was getting outstruck. He was getting out grappled. The thing that really just scares me for him in this fight is he has been slammed by much lesser wrestlers, like up overhead, turn backwards. Like he seems to have no body control in those wrestling scenarios. And that for me is like a really dangerous spot here because Mo Miller is going to pick you up and send you every which way but loose. And I'm actually kind of concerned for me. I think he might get knocked out on a slam.
Hey, is there a KO by slam prop we can hit?
I'd be interested. If you could give me the right plus number, I'd be interested.
I've always wanted them props, and one day we're going to get it because the MMA market is growing. The MMA betting market specifically.
100%.
I've always wanted the submission and what submission prop, you know, Vadum to win via triangle, you know, like I think that'll make it super interesting.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh, and one last thing on the way out, I just wanted to say, I noticed 2 comments that really stuck out to me, which was MMA Fight Club says, smash that like, everyone, and absolutely go smash that like and subscribe to Narco's channel. I really appreciate this opportunity. But also, my man Gary says, cash the Prize Picks play with Liam. Let's go, Lamar. I haven't been watching. I don't even watch football. I blind-tailed my buddy who is a very smart capper at Delphi Commish on Twitter. And shout out to him. If you ever play with Prize Picks, use that promo code Liam. Get yourself a deposit match, 100% up to $100. And I didn't watch the football games, but I made some money, and that is better for me.
Yeah, MMA Fight Club. Thank you, man. Smash that like, everybody. Please subscribe. I'm trying to do as much content as I can. Please do the same thing for both these guys because these guys are awesome, man. They're giving you this great insight. They're giving you winners, dude. These guys give you winners. So I said last underdog bets tomorrow or what? Well, if you listen to Liam, hey, he's got some underdog bets. And I guess as a whole, we have some underdog bets here, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Other than Mr. Mo Miller, which we all actually love. But one thing to
massive parlay on Mo Miller on my end.
Liam, one thing I could say with that Mando Gutierrez, I'm pretty high on that guy, dude. Like the guy with the Gogo Plata.
For sure. He's not bad. Not bad at all. Looked sharp in that fight.
I think the guy's UFC material, honestly. I've watched a lot of his fights actually live. And I think the guy is really good, has really good wrestling himself.
They said that they were like friendly too, like knew each other in high school and stuff like that. So that to me was like an interesting backdrop for that fight. Apparently they're both like pretty good guard players. And that's the thing, man. Wrestlers, you know, you don't get to see them on their back that often, but a lot of times they fall in love with jiu-jitsu when they get there and they start working that guard game. You never get to see it, but that's what I was hearing in that fight too. I was like, man, because somebody had asked like if his defensive wrestling was as good as his offensive wrestling. And I will say on the tape, yes. He hasn't faced that many great wrestlers who can really answer back, but he has been hurting guys on the feet and made them wrestle, and he was able to easily stuff a lot of those takedowns. And if anything, his overconfidence in his jiu-jitsu is the only thing I've ever seen get him taken down. He went for a guillotine once, gave up position, and scrambled in like 20 seconds back to his feet. So he's good, man. He's solid.
Yeah, the guy's solid. I just want to take a second and thank everybody that's in chat. You guys even communicating, throwing in those comments. It's great. You know, we like to see the comments from you guys because it's awesome. You know.
Absolutely.
Dave Crack, overtime now. Uh-oh. Game is in overtime. Are you sweating, Liam?
No.
You're good?
No
You're
money
good?
on it, but I'm rooting for everybody. Good guys versus the bookies. I hope that anybody who's got money on that game is getting the outcome they desire.
All right, boys. Let's move on. And our last fight of the night. We're gonna go to the main event. It's Jailton Almeida versus Nasruddinov. Let's start with you, Liam. Go ahead. Give us some insight on this.
Sure, man. So we've got Nasruddinov hasn't lost yet. So something that's a little bit hard to get in front of. But we've got two guys who are around the same age here, both just about 30 years old. Almeida's a little bit taller, both orthodox fighters. Man, if I could say the one thing that jumped out at me was just that the sharper markets were holding plus 170, and I was seeing plus 195 and plus 185 on some of the other, what would you even call it? Like retail sports books that I have access to. And so I did jump on one unit Almeida at plus 185. And I think that I may, the price may get better on that, but I was concerned that price will be adjusted downward. I think that there might be late action on this fight. If there's one thing we've seen as a trend, it's just that these Contender Series underdogs come through at a pretty high clip. And so, man, I look at this fight and I see Nasruddinov. He's obviously got some upside, but I feel like there's a lot of unknowns on the Almeida side, man. This was another guy that I had limited access to footage on him. But what I did see, I didn't hate it. I think he's got some skills, and I'm not completely sold on Nasruddinov as this minus 200 favorite yet. So, man, I'm willing to take one unit stab here. Big plus money figure. Let's run it up. Somebody asked, are we doing underdog bets or what? I've realized where I do well and where I do poorly when I bet, and I tend to bet better on underdog. So that's what I'm looking for. If I'm going to bet a big favorite, I'm going to look for those parlay opportunities when they're there. But otherwise, man, and I'm starting to look for underdogs that I could target. And, I'm getting a bigger guy here at age parity. Pretty wide line. I'll take it. I think either guy could go down in this spot.
All right. We'll kick it off to you, James. What do you think? Underdog or favorite here?
Underdog. I like the underdog here. Not like him in that I think he's potentially going to win, but I like him because he's plus 195, and I don't think he should be plus 195. Pretty simple, simple as that, really. If you bet for 10 years, if you're betting long enough and you take advantage of inefficient lines, you will win, no matter if you win today, win tomorrow. Long term, you will win. And I just think just a little bit inefficient here. Obviously, Nasruddinov, deserved favorite. The guy's never lost before. Looks to have decent cardio. Fought some decent guys. I'm just looking at his record now. Been in ACA. Decent promotion, ACA. A lot of them Russian promotions are pretty good. But his opponent is a grappler, right? But he also has decent striking. Not decent striking. I won't say that. I'll say that his striking is dangerous, very dangerous. He's a massive guy. He's 6'4". I'm not going to say the other J word. I'm just going to say he's jacked to the gills, right? So he's I don't want to make
polite, James. You're so polite.
No accusations, but the guy's 6'4". He's a monster of a man. He's a lot bigger than Nasruddinov, right? Nasruddinov is 6 foot. He's fighting a 6'4" fighter. That's a big gap there. 4 inches, And I just believe that Nasruddinov. He's a takedown guy. Obviously he's decent striking, but he wants to get you on the ground, like a lot of these Russians do, right? He want to get you on the ground. If he's going to keep going to the well with that takedown, Almeida's going to have ample opportunity to wrap up a submission, which is what he's been doing his whole career. He comes from Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. Most Brazilians are good at Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He is one of them who's not. He's had grappling bouts, a lot of grappling bouts. You even see his last in May, he did a tournament. Yeah, he did a tournament. He won all his fights there. Even when you watch his MMA fights, you can tell he wants to get the fight to the ground. Even though he's got knockouts on the feet, he wants to get the fight to the ground. He's a good submission fighter when it gets to the ground. Very powerful, very strong guy. So I just believe that there's definitely a lot of ways he can win here. I think he can catch Nasruddinov, and I also think that he could probably wrap up a submission on someone who's going to constantly trying to be grappling him, in my opinion. Maybe Nasruddinov is smart and just tries to outpoint him. I don't really know who's going to win on the feet in a kickboxing match. It's kind of hard for me to tell. I don't have a strong read on that. I'm pretty confident in saying Nasruddinov's probably going to try and get the fight to the ground, and then that's going to make it interesting, man. So I like the plus 195 number on someone who's a finisher, someone who's dangerous, someone who will go for submissions, will go for attempts, on someone who I believe is going to basically give him a chance to do that. So plus number was easy for me to back it here. I jumped in at plus 195, and this was, again, stable on all markets. It was quickly bet back down to plus 180. So I'm happy with the plus 195 number. It was at plus 205 for a second. I slept, went down to plus 195, and I was like, okay, I need to jump on now. So yeah, I have a small play, just like I do on Potter, on Almeida. And if one of them hits, then I'm in good amount of profit because of the numbers I've backed. So yeah, I'm excited to see this fight. Definitely going to be a good fight. But I'll take Almeida for the win, the upset win.
Nice points.
That's two Brazilian underdogs. You see, we're backing the Brazilians to take out the Russians. The Russians always get that little extra boost because of that little OV at the end of the name. And I don't know if it's going to pay off, man. The Parlay boys love their Russians. I will tell you that. The Parlay boys love the Russians. Yes, sir.
What I will say, the Brazilians have not been on the right side lately, but hopefully they come through. You know, this fight, like I actually found a lot of tape on Almeida, and you know, credit to Liam when he said these guys have multiple. This guy's one of those guys, Jalton Jr., Jalton Almeida, Jalton Malhadinho, or some with an M. You know, this guy has
Jalton Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, this guy has multiple aliases. Okay, so I did find actually a lot of his fights. What I did find, and this is this guy's a third-degree BJJ black belt, not one or two. He's a third-degree BJJ black belt, very high level. I mean, you go watch his grappling fights. This guy's fighting high-level BJJ black belts most of the time, just dominating these guys. I mean, so the guy, he's really, really good down there. The guy, you know, the one thing I will say is he came from a boxing background. That's what he originally started as. And then, you know, as a young kid, got into BJJ. I guess that was his love and completely flew from there. But the guy, you know, he hasn't been really extended. That's one, you know, question mark for me. The guy, most of his fights, I believe, have ended early, pretty early. Yeah, you go back and, you know, first round, you know, all of them are mostly, other than his loss to Bruno Assis, which is, you know, 3 years ago, and he went to a decision, but that's his only one. So, you know, obviously gas tank is always going to be a question mark here with him because, you know, he most of the time gets his guys out of there. You know, the guy, the one thing I like about him is that he's been really active, right? In a 3-year span, the guy's fought, you know, a lot, grappling a lot. So, you know, the guy's really active. It's not like this guy's been on the shelf. BJJ tourneys all over the place, you know. But, you know, I also see that he does have some flaws on the feet. You know, there was one fight in particular that I watched in 2017. It was the Fagner, even though it's 4 years ago, it was the Fagner Rachel fight where he absolutely got bombed with an overhand right, was almost out. I mean, in the first round, like completely out. I guess the ref gave him some more time, came to it, you know, got the guy, you know, got him in his guard, you know, kind of recovered, and then, you know, kind of took over in the second round. But yeah, you know, I did see that he did get rocked really bad in that fight, was really hurt. With, you know, Nasrudinov, you know, yeah, I know he's undefeated. Guy has kickboxing skills, but, you know, he has decent wrestling. He has good wrestling, gets guys to the ground, but he's more of a control type of wrestler, right? He's not going for crazy for subs. He's kind of taking them when you give them to him, but he's not overextending to try to, you know, lose position over, you know, trying to get a submission. But, you know, again, this guy has flaws himself. Like, to me, he's got a questionable gas tank. You go back and watch his tape, like, guy seems to be slowing down too in some of these fights where I watched, you know, I want to go back and think which one it was in particular. I think it was the Hendricks fight. He really slowed down in the third round there and almost lost that fight. Also, you know, he himself, he's been out for a year, right? Guy hasn't fought for a year. I do like his ground and pound. It's pretty heavy when he gets on top. But like James said, right? Do you really want to go down there with a guy that's as skilled as Almeida is on the ground? The guy is very, very high level. And I do believe, I haven't bet this fight yet because I thought that OV at the end of the name was possibly going to push, Nazardinov to a better line for me to take Almeida. And I'm just actually waiting. I'm still probably going to play Almeida because I think that huge, I think he's got a huge grappling advantage, right? It's submission grappling advantage here. When it gets down to the ground, I do think the guy is always looking to get submissions in. He's not going to settle for guard, where he holds you in his guard. That's not what he's going to do. So I think, Nazardinov, on the feet might be a little bit better. But one thing I will say is don't take away from the fact that Almeida can possibly take Nazardinov down. And because the guy is big and strong, he has shown some good wrestling on tape that I've saw. So I think if he takes Nazardinov down and he's on top, Nazardinov is in big trouble, dude, with this guy. So, plus money, I'm all for it in this fight, to be honest. Like, I'm not impressed with Nazardinov. Yeah, he has wins over Hendricks. Yeah, he has some decent wins, in ACA, but nothing really stood out to me to say this guy is wow. He's some great guy on the feet and great on the ground, because I don't believe either. He's not great at any of them, to be honest. So yeah, give me Almeida at plus money. Hopefully people get crazy and push that OV, to plus 200 so I can get a plus 200, but probably not. But I'm still going to play probably Almeida at the end of the day with a plus money, because I think this fight, honestly, is a 50-50 fight.
I'm right there with you, man. And I'm seeing plus 180 is right now the best price available on Bet365. As we're recording the show, man, the line changed because I literally hit that line in Jersey right before I drove back over here, tracked my bet. And then I'm seeing now, as we're recording the show, that the line's been hit down to plus 165. So BetMGM addressed their liability at least. And I'd say get in while the going's good now. And yep. Our man Dave is pointing it out as well. Is that a map of New Jersey? As a matter of fact, Dave knows the wave.
Look at you guys.
New Jersey sportsbook's getting hip to it.
You guys are moving lines. James over here tipping these plays and moving lines over here. What the hell is going on? Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, Tuesdays. Some people are saying, Dana's trying to get these people in. He's giving everybody a contract. I kind of agree. But again, I talked about this in detail with a bunch of my friends. When you're putting fights every damn week and they have a lot of cards, right? And with COVID, people are dropping out. You need a bigger roster, right? If people want to see fights, 12, some people complain when there's 10 fights, right? Or 9 to a card. Oh, fuck, there's only 10 fights or only 9. Well, if you want 12 card fights or 15 card fights, he needs more people on the roster, right? Guys are dropping out last second. He's calling people last second. Hey, can you take? Oh, I'll take this fight. So, hey, that's the reason why he's giving out more contracts, right? He gave out to a loser, right? We saw that a couple weeks ago. He gave it to a loser, even though that loser probably won, and they gypped me off of a plus 300 play. But either way, I think that's the reason why he's given more contracts out. There's more fights. He's gotta meet ESPN's needs, right? ESPN, he promised them a set amount of cards in a year. He has to come through, so I think.
And is it really that bad? We get fights.
I love it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, talking to the people, who you're addressing, we get more fights midweek. We get less fights pulled off of cards. We get mixed martial artists who dedicate their lives to it, paid money, sponsorship opportunities, life in the UFC. It's good all round. I understand, okay, integrity of the UFC. You don't have to be that high level, all of that shit. At the end of the day, there's more pros than cons, man. So fuck it. I say let them do it.
How about more good betting opportunities, right? Exactly. I mean, honestly, I'm being honest. These Tuesday night Contender series, like, it's unbelievable some of these lines that we're getting sometimes early in the week where the line's completely flipping. Like I did last week, I completely free rolled one fight for a unit and a half, like complete free roll. Like I didn't care who won. So like if you can get in at the right price, like even now with Mo Miller, right? Minus 240, I got. If I was to flip and just take Brandon Lewis right now, I can easily profit right now some, 1 or 2 units. But I'm just so confident in Mo Miller here, honestly, that I don't think I need to hedge here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I feel you.
I want to thank both of you guys. Thank you, James. Thank you, Liam, for coming on, bro. We put up a good show. I love chopping it up with you guys. It's great having you guys on. I know it's the first time, but it's the first of probably many. Now I want to just open up the floor to both of you. I'll start off with James. Give shout out to whatever you want. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Definitely enjoyed it. Shout out to Liam as well. Always fun going on your stream or stream with you. Hopefully we can all cash this weekend. People know where to find me, man. Twitter, Lucrative MMA. Website, lucrativemmabetting.com. Oh, I will say as well, I am 27-0 on my bets above 5 units. I've got a 9-unit play locked in, and I'm hoping to go 28-0. So we're coming for that Khabib record, boys. So if we get that 29-0, I'm going to have to do a live stream with a papaka on or something like that, however you say it. We're coming for that Khabib record. But yeah, no, definitely, all jokes aside, thanks for having me on, and I hope we all cash tomorrow.
Awesome, guys. Please follow this guy. James is a really sharp dude. Go to his site, subscribe to his channel, do whatever you have to do. The guy's really sharp. You could see, he's moving lines, guys. He gave you a line and the line moved instantly. Go ahead, Liam. I don't know. Is Liam frozen here? I think he is frozen.
He did a loop. Just at the wrong time.
Can you hear me?
Oh, he's back, guys. He's back. The rain subsided.
The rain came down again.
There's a parting of the sea for just a second.
All right, Liam. I think we hear you. I don't know if you're frozen on the video, but your sound was fine. You there? He's not there. All right. Let me just finish off, and then I'll hopefully he comes back by then. And yeah, so I'll just give a brief recap of what I have until Liam comes back. I'm going to bet Almeida. It's just a matter of when. I'm waiting for the line. Again, I thought that OV name was going to do something for me, but it didn't. I have Miller big, 12 units on Miller to win 5 at minus 240. I also have Losa at plus 135 for 2 units. Let me bring Liam back in because the rain subsided, hopefully. And and I also have a play on JJ at minus 135. If I was to take my least confident pick out of all these picks, I would probably say JJ at minus 135, just because I didn't get the right line. I think I lost value there. I should have bet it earlier. I didn't tape it till later, so I couldn't bet it. So, Liam, I think you're back. Hopefully, maybe not. I think he's gone again, guys.
Well, everyone knows where to catch him, man.
Yeah. Oh, he's back. Oh,
my Wi-Fi absolutely shits out on me in the most critical moment. I'm so sorry about that, buddy.
Floor's yours, dude. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, everybody who was able to sit through that effing torture, I apologize to you. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a freaking pleasure every time I could talk about these fights, especially with 2 guys like yourself. Absolute, people I really respect, sharp minds for the game. Gotta say, he called me and James sharp. Here's what I'm going to say. James, the sharpest guy in the room. As far as I'm concerned, I'm taking myself out of that equation. Narco is also a very sharp guy, always worthy of taking his opinion seriously. Mine should always be taken with this grain of salt. I'm just like a lot of you guys chasing that profitability, but getting closer and closer by the day, and think I'm making smarter and smarter bets over time as well. So, God bless everybody. I hope you guys all enjoy these fights. Every time I'm going to be here with you guys trying to beat those bookies, putting out my plays. My stuff is for free. I do not sell my information. It's not worthy of you buying it yet. But that being said, guys, I'll also point out my man at Delphi Commish, at Delphi Sports. If you are looking to make money betting on sports, I can tell you, stick and ball sports, my man, Delphi Commish knows it very well, and he can really help you profit in those sports. I don't know a damn thing about him. I'm going to stick to MMA. That's what I know and love, and I appreciate all of you guys for riding with me. So you can find me everywhere at Liam Picks Fights, and I really appreciate the opportunity, Narco.
Awesome, guys. Again, it's a proud pleasure of mine to have both of you on. It's great chopping it up with you guys. We'll definitely do it again.
Absolutely. With no hurricanes next time. I'll make sure that I tell the weatherman.
All right, brother. Take care,
take
man.
Care,
have a great day, guys.
All right. Take care.
Take care. All right, fellas. Again, I just want to thank everybody that's in chat. Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, I'm going to be doing this Dana White Contender Series every week, trying to break down these cards, trying to give you guys winners, bro. I think we have some good plays here, man. I really do. And, some of the lines have slipped, but, Miller, like if you want to play Miller, he's definitely a solid parlay piece, if you ask me. So again, thank you, everybody. Please subscribe. Please like. I think I'm going to be doing a show on Thursday. It's going to be for this UFC card. It's going to be a different type of show. So I have something in store. So it'll be on Thursday, most likely. I'll keep you guys updated on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at NarcoCop. And again, thank you very much for everybody that came on. I said last, I'm a fan. I'll be back next week. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone in chat. Without you guys, I always say this, without my chat, without the people that are following, subscribing, coming in here and commenting, this thing would not be the same. With no audience, we're nobodies. So again, thank you to everybody. And then sometimes we actually learn from the chat, dude. Some of you have things to say, just because we're on here, on YouTube telling you who to bet and stuff, doesn't mean that people in the chat don't know better. So again, you guys are great. Thank you for being here. I will probably be back Thursday with the UFC card. And everybody have a great night, and thank you again.